A lot of people, when it comes to public speaking or communicating with others, they're afraid. They're scared of the opportunity. They don't see it as a sort of stepping stone to progress in their career. So I think my advice for people who want to be able to communicate better is to just say yes.
Hello everyone and welcome to Hello Mentor Season 2, Episode 1. Today our topic is on the way to communicating better in the workplace, and our special guest is Natalie Kniese. So welcome Natalie, could you introduce yourself to our audience?
Sure. Nice to be here for your first episode of your new season. I'm Natalie Kniese. I'm a public speaking and communication coach and trainer. I'm also a radio announcer, an MC, a host, so I wear many different hats. But for today, my hat is going to be about public speaking and also about radio announcing.
Thank you so much for being with us today on our very first episode back on Hello Mentor. So let's just jump straight in. Your public speaking and communication business has been running for over 4 years now. Can you tell us the story about how and why you decided to start this business?
Oh, sure. So I began on radio as somebody who was clueless about radio. And, you know, when you do a radio, you also get the chance to do MC jobs, voiceovers, TV hosting. And all of those were things that were completely foreign to me when I first did them. And I had to learn through experience how to conduct myself in these situations. And I kept getting asked by people like, it must be so easy to do your job. I wish I was more like you. I wish I was extroverted like you. And I thought to myself, it's not that difficult to do once you practice and do quite a lot of it. And you don't need to be an extrovert in order for you to communicate. And public speaking or communication is not a skill that you are born with. It's actually a skill that you can learn. So that's why I wanted to start this company or this business, in order to tell people that it was possible to learn this skill and be good at it. And I just wanted to share what I had learned with all my experience with others.
I think lots of people sort of imagine starting their own business on the side while they're working. And so as a radio announcer on Fly FM, how do you balance your roles as a broadcaster and an entrepreneur?
Oh, there's a very clear balance. I split my day. Every weekday is split into halves. So from 6 a.m. to about 1 p.m., it's all focused on radio. And then anywhere from 2 p.m. right until 7 or 8 p.m., it's focused on my business. So in the morning at 6 a.m., I wake up, I do my prep for my show, do my radio show, go back home, eat lunch, and then immediately focus on the business. So I draw a very clear line, like nothing overlaps each other, so that, you know, I have the time to dedicate correct amount of time to each of those things.
I guess that way you can really like get into the mindset that you need,
yes,
depending on the time of day or like which role you're playing at that point in time.
Correct.
Okay. So after being in the Malaysian and Southeast Asian entertainment industry for over 15 years, what advice is commonly given to someone who is looking to improve their public speaking skills that you believe people should ignore? So what advice would you give instead? AKA?
Oh, right. Okay.
Yeah. So what advice is bad advice and what would you give instead?
I don't know about the bad advice. Like, I'll have to take a minute to think about that. But good advice, or at least advice that I feel that would really help, is that a lot of people, when it comes to public speaking or communicating with others, they're afraid. They're scared of the opportunity. They don't see it as a sort of stepping stone to progress in their career. So I think my advice for people who want to be able to communicate better is to just say yes to those opportunities. Whether you fail, whether you succeed, it's fine, as long as you've tried. The only reason that I'm good at speaking or communicating is because I've had so much time to practice, so much experience. So if you keep putting up your hand and you keep saying yes to doing these things that you are afraid of, one day you're going to find that you're not so afraid anymore. As for the bad advice, nothing comes to mind, but maybe you can ask me a little bit later.
Yeah, I guess you miss all of the opportunities you don't take, right?
Yeah, exactly. And a lot of people think like, oh, what if I mess up? What if I fall? What if I forget what I want to say? It all comes with preparation and practice. So the more you prepare, the more you practice, the less mistakes you're going to make.
That's true. Good advice. Good advice.
Oh, thanks.
So you've worked with some pretty large brands like Dior, W Hotel, Nike, AirAsia, so many more. Can you share some effective communication techniques that you teach to your clients, especially in regards to communicating at the workplace?
Wow, you've done your research.
Yeah, we did.
That's awesome. When you say it like that, it makes me feel so proud. But yeah, thanks. So I think the biggest piece of advice that I can give, which I do give in my training sessions or when I speak to other people, is effective communication, or communication is a two-way process. It's always 50-50, 50% you, 50% the other person. So a lot of times when people are speaking, they don't necessarily focus on what the other person is giving back to them. They're very engulfed in their own sort of feelings and emotions at that particular time. That's why you have people who speak for too long or don't know how to interact with the crowd or don't know how to keep their audience engaged. So 50-50, always look out for the vibe that the other person is giving to you. Look at their body language. Look at the way they're answering your questions. Look at the way that they just react to you and then make adjustments from there. And you need to be quite fast in your mind to be able to do so.
I think that's really good advice because I agree that communication is a two-way street. It's not just about how you speak, but it's about how you observe and how you listen and how you respond. Just throwing it out there as well. Like one of the best things I've ever read about learning how to present well is that a good speaker sounds smart. A great speaker makes you feel smart. So a great speaker makes you understand what's going on instead of just like sounding very smart. So I think that aligns with your advice on it being two-way.
Yep, exactly. Yeah. And a lot of times, if you're nervous, you're only going to be focusing on yourself. If the pressure's on you, you're going to be focusing on yourself. You completely forget about the other party. So it's good for you to keep that in mind, that the other party is there listening, watching, and paying attention to you.
Right. So as an entrepreneur, there's going to be some good days and some bad days. Could you share a story of how you stayed motivated and inspired when you were going through a tough time? Maybe a memorable experience or a success story from your coaching business?
So for me, well, we're all human at the end of the day. There are a lot of times that I experience maybe baby burnouts because I do so many things. I experience imposter syndrome because I feel like sometimes I'm not worthy of doing something. But I think the main thing that motivates me to want to continue is because I want to make an impact on the communities that I'm in or on society. If there's one thing that I can leave behind, I would like to be able to leave behind this sort of legacy that I helped you understand that communication was important. Because for me, when I first started as a radio announcer, as I said before, I didn't know what was going on. I didn't have a mentor. I had to learn. I had to fall down into stages. I had the mic slip out of my hand. I was sweating. My mouth was so dry. And I learned from that process. And I understand how people feel when they are expected to do a presentation and they get scared. So for me, if I can leave that sort of impact on people, then that's great. And that's my motivation to continue and to want to wake up every day and to do this.
Wow. You have a huge social media presence online with like almost 20,000 followers and counting.
Is that considered huge?
Yeah.
No, it's like tiny. It's baby.
Well, how do you approach personal branding and building an online presence in this ever-changing day and age?
Well, honestly, when social media first came out, I think I was one of the first people to kind of embrace it. I think at that time, I didn't have much going on. So social media was just something extra to do on top of radio. And I put a lot of effort into it. And I enjoyed posting and doing silly videos. But then as I started owning a business, I found that I had less and less time for me to put out posts and concentrate on social media. So if you look at my personal social media, it's not really up to date. I'm not constantly posting. But I have noticed for my business, especially public speaking, that I need to be present constantly on social media in order for people to know that you exist and in order for you to create that sort of awareness. Somebody once said to me, going to social media and seeing that you don't post anything is like going to a grocery store and nothing is stocked. And that really stuck with me because I was like, oh yeah, when you go to a store and there's nothing in the store, you go out the store. So for me, I pay more attention to my business social media by creating these videos, sometimes a little bit on the touchy side, which creates a little bit of, how would you say it? It's a good video and it generates a lot of talk but sometimes it might be a little bit controversial. But I pay more attention to doing those sort of videos now and then sharing it with my personal profile.
So there are like two trains of thought that I see when I'm browsing the internet. I see some people talk about how posting quantity is not the game, and some people talk on the other way, where posting quality is not the game. So it sounds to me like you're more on the quantity side. Like you believe that the more you post, the more you'll be seen.
I can also see it from the statistics that you get, when you click on that thing and it says like, here's your stats. We will start because we're a small company, we don't have much resources. So we don't have like a social media manager and somebody who's taking my videos. I'm the one that's recording the video, putting the subtitles on it. So I notice if we do well, like we have a very high performing social media post, and then we decide to not do anything for the next 2 weeks, the engagement becomes way lower. So for me, it's a balance between quantity and also quality. So I try to have, 2 to 3 posts or 3 to 4 posts per week, but also make sure that either it's something that's informational, something that is touching on a trending subject, something that you can implement immediately at work. So I try to create a balance between both of those. So it's not I'm paying only attention to quantity.
Yeah. Agree. Can you share some public speaking tips for people who feel nervous before they do a presentation or a big speech?
Well, the one tip that has always helped me, actually there are many, many tips, but the one tip that's helped me a lot in the last, God knows how many years that I've been doing this, is to remember to breathe. A lot of people kind of forget to breathe, especially when they're nervous. Suddenly your breathing is very, very shallow. It's not really, you're not even breathing. You're just breathing just because. So taking those deep breaths and kind of doing this box breathing technique. I don't know if you've heard of this before.
What is box breathing?
It's a way of breathing where you breathe in for a count of 4, you hold for a count of 5, you exhale for a count of 6, and then you gradually increase by 1 second every time. So it's a way for you to kind of calm your heart down and lower any sort of stress levels that you may have in your body. And if you try it, I promise you it helps quite a lot for you to calm your nerves. But also you need to be prepared and you have to have had practiced in order for you to feel more confident walking up on that stage.
I like that box breathing. I think it'd be useful for people listening in, even if they're just they're not doing some sort of public speaking, but they're feeling anxious and they need to calm down a little bit. I think that'll be something that we can try and we can practice ourselves.
There's also a lot of other breathing techniques that help quite a lot. There's another one where you breathe in and then don't exhale, but breathe in again, so that I don't know what the science behind that is, but it actually does help. And if you notice, runners, I don't know, I run all the time, and I notice the more that I breathe properly, the easier it is for me to run more kilometers. Wow. So for anxiety, for running, for public speaking, breathing is super, super important.
Yeah, so don't take breathing for granted, guys. Yeah. Okay. Are there any resources or tools that you recommend for individuals who are looking to enhance their communication skills?
Well, I guess the biggest tool would be to ask your boss, if you work for a company, to sign you up for training. I feel like in Malaysia, a lot of people don't pay much attention to communication and public speaking training. It's almost it's okay. But then actually, if you look at a business or if you look at a company, communication is the most important skill. It's the one skill that you go into work every single day and you have to do. So if your communication is not working in your company, how do you synergize yourself and move forward? So I think if you work for a company, ask your boss if you can, do some sort of communication training. There's all sorts of HRDF or HRDC government subsidies, I don't know what they're called, that can help pay for your training. The company does not need to pay, or even go for coaching, or even learn online. You can, buy a course on Udemy just to learn the basics of communication. At least if you understand what's going on, it's going to be much easier for you to be able to use it in your daily life.
Yeah, I totally agree that communication is important for anyone in the workplace, not just people who are behind the camera, not just people who are leads of the company. Even if you're an exec level, communication skills are so important because you're doing it all the time. Whether you're communicating with external parties or you're just trying to convey a message to your team or to your boss, just having strong communication skills can actually take you very far in life.
Yeah, and there's a lot to do with interpersonal communication as well. How you speak to other people, how you listen to other people, how you receive feedback, how you give feedback. There's a lot of things that go into communication. And if only you knew, then you'd be able to become a better communicator at work. Not just for your sake, but for the sake of other people who work with you as well.
Yeah. All right. So our next question was, how do you maintain a healthy work-life balance while managing multiple responsibilities? But I'm going to guess that since you have half a day for a radio, then the other half of the day for your business, then the rest of your time you're in the mindset of, this is me time.
Yeah.
Is that it?
I don't work Saturdays and Sundays. I refuse to do it. So Saturday and Sunday is my off day. I probably will not, unless I have something that's really important. I refuse to work on the weekend because you need a break. To me, I feel like it's very important for you to have a break. And my mind is going from like 6 a.m. until like 7 to 8 p.m. So yeah, give me my weekends. Thanks.
Rest is productive, guys. Rest is productive.
For sure.
Yeah. So my team there, for you guys too, rest is productive. So what are your future goals and aspirations for your coaching business and your broadcasting career?
So for the coaching business, we really want to expand. I think this year we are looking towards getting investors to help us out because I think we have a very good product, except we can't grow without money. So what we want to do is we want to expand. I want to try to move the business into different parts of Southeast Asia, try to do more things that are online. Try to look at the latest trends in the world. As you know, like ChatGPT is out, there's AI. Can we use AI to do something with public speaking and communication? So we're constantly looking towards the future. So yeah, I hope to do bigger things with this company. As for broadcasting, I'll still be in Fly FM, not too sure what's going on there. But yeah, I'll be there. For radio, that's as far as you can advance. You're just a radio announcer and that's that.
All right. So we're going into our final question for this interview. Heartly is a company that takes our work culture very, very seriously. We have 7 core values that we repeat constantly. Like if you walk around the office, you'll see we put them on our walls. We refer to them when we need some direction for decision making. And we even bring it into our communications. Like you'll hear the values repeated in conversations. So one of our core values is communicate with radical candor. So in a nutshell, this value encourages our team to challenge ideas and behaviors directly and openly while still caring personally about helping each other improve and helping each other to achieve the shared goals. So, can you recall a time where you were either the giver or receiver of radical candor? And how did that play out to make things better for the person who was on the receiving end of the radical candor?
Perhaps I'll give you one where I was on the receiving end, both for radio and also for my business. So for radio, when I first began, I don't know if how old you are, but the idols that I had on screen were people like Asha Gill, Shazbin Shamsuddin, Serena C. Those were the people who were on the radio at the time. And when I first started radio, I wanted to be anything but myself. And I tried my best to like mimic these people to the point where I would even laugh like them just because I felt like I had no identity. And I remember going in for my first air check. An air check is where you sit down with the boss and they will play every single talk set that you do on radio and then analyze it in front of you and then give you feedback. So if you can imagine, it's a very like stressful very demotivating session. So one of the first things that was said to me was, why are you not being yourself? And at that time I was like, what's the matter? I think I am being myself. But after a while, this sort of sat in my brain for a bit and I realized I am actually not being myself. And it was the minute that I let it go, I let all this try to be like somebody else go and be myself, was the minute that I think I started to pull in the ratings for radio. By nature, I'm a goofball. I'm silly. I'm not afraid to be stupid. I have a laugh with myself, and I was not presenting that on air. So once I let everything go and I was more myself on air, people kind of liked the fact that I was not afraid to make fun of myself. So I would talk to chickens on air. It would be hilarious. Like in my own head, it was hilarious. But then when like people called out and they were like, I want to hear your chickens, I was like, oh, that's so interesting. So people liked it when I was myself. So I think that was an example that probably worked out really well for me, especially.
Wow.
And then with my business partner, Misha, is the person who constantly has to talk to me all the time, because I think the biggest problems that I have with the business, I will for sure share with her. And I think one of the biggest things is the problem of imposter syndrome. So I'll always say, I'm not good enough, or, why are we doing this? I'll always doubt myself. And she's the one that's always going to come back. She's quite Zen. So she believes in mindset, meditation. And she'll come back and she'll say, no, this is how it's supposed to be. And every time that I go and talk to her for these sort of problems, there's always going to be a way that she's going to calm me down. So yeah, it's worked out well in my favor. And I have no issue with receiving feedback.
Awesome. Thank you so much for everything that you shared with us today. I think the team will have lots of very useful, educational clips that we can share with our audience that are all like in the job market or looking for ways to upskill themselves. Hiredly's goal, or our tagline, is work, grow, belong, and our goal is that we're trying to help, was it 10 million? 10 million job seekers achieve career growth in any way, shape, or form. So that's not just about getting a job, but it's also about upskilling yourself. So this is why we bring people like you to come and share your knowledge and hopefully help some people who are listening in.
For sure. I think if you are somebody who is just starting out in looking for jobs, or starting out in whatever industry that you might be in, just spend some time to read up or watch a YouTube video or check out TikTok on communication skills, because I do believe that sets you apart from other people. If you only rely on the things that you were good at in school, such as your grades or whatever it might be, it doesn't really, for me, I don't see how it's going to work out. But if you can just communicate what you know and communicate it well, then I think you have a better chance than 99.9% of the other people who are going to be applying for the same job as you.